So whenever you call this function with the function name, so now it is, if you run this file, python file, run python file, what happened? Nothing, you are getting anything. Okay, cls screen. Now run this python file, so nothing, you are getting anything. So means what, you have defined the statements in under a function, but you want to call this function, you need to come out of the function. You can call this function from here, out of the function. Okay, so if you follow some margin, now you can say that this function is part of your class, part of your function. No, you come out of the function, you call from here, out of the function. Okay, add, always function must be called with the brackets. Now if you call these line of statements, Vasu, okay, one print statement you have requested for this variable x, whatever the value string stored in this memory location, that will be called and printed. Okay, next you are requesting for one id function to know the memory address of this variable where it is created in the computer's memory. This is the, and then you want to know bus the len function to know how many characters stored in this variable. The x variable has how many characters. 3 built-in functions I have used here. So all of them instructions called single, I have called that function with the simply function name. So in future, in the programming, if I want to write this line of code, suppose here only 5 lines or 4 lines of code, suppose this function has this much of code, 100 lines of code, that 100 lines of code kept with a name, add, that 100 line of code can be called simply add, simply by calling of that function name. So what is the use of function? To no need to write the code repeatedly. Suppose if I need to write this code again and again, no need to write that code, simply write that code and keep a name and save with that name. Okay, and after that you call that function, you call that function. So same here, the program has done built-in function for the print is a built-in function. I don't know how much of line code he has written to get the printout, maybe 1000 lines of code, yeah, 10 lines of code, maybe 20 lines of code he might have written, the programmer. For id function, I don't know, this is the built-in function, how many lines of code, but you are calling the, whenever you are calling, so that is being, whatever the lines of statements, instructions written under id function, they are being executed. For the len function, built-in function, how many lines of code he has written, we don't know that. That is called, that is one type of your, okay, function. Now this can be defined as user defined function. User defined, why? Because it is not built-in function, because as a programmer you are creating the functions, you are creating the function. Now suppose if I want to create one more function, suppose see, create a function with the addition of 2 words, addition of sum, its function name is equal sum. Sum is a function, user defined function. I told you that function must be terminated with the semicolon. Okay, if you don't want to define any instructions or statements, you simply put pass keyword, otherwise you will get the error. If you once any function is declared and it is not defined with any statements, if you want to run this code, so you will get this type of error, expected indented black after function definition. Function is declared, but it is expecting them some indent of means some margin and some line of statements. Okay, so that's why we need to write some line of code, but that line of code must follow some margin. Okay, that is called indentation. Indentation means margin. Block of code means these are some lines of code. That block may be 5 lines, 10 lines, 15 lines, 20 lines. Block after function definition. Expected means this Python is interpreter based program, so it is expecting that some line of code. Okay, normally this line of code will be called, everything is called a source code. Okay, that will be stored in this file, source file, Python file. What is the Python file name? This is my func.py. It is a source file. It is having this code, source code, that will be converted into machine language by interpreter. Python has the interpreter. Interpreter is a translator program. Whenever you run this button, so run this Python file, interpreter looks for the any errors in every line of code. It checks by, it reads the line by line. Interpreter reads line by line. If error is in second line, this seventh line, so it stops there. It indicates that here is the error, bug is here. Bug means error. So until the programmer rectifies that, so it will not go ahead. So if there is no any bug all of the lines, so then it executes and it gives the results like this. Okay, now under this sum function I am going to do, so comment here, this is what I am commenting here, addition of two numbers, two integers. Okay, I want to create a function for this. Okay, I don't want to write the code again and again. Whenever I call this function, so addition will be taken. So for this, now indentation, block of code, first take input function. Okay, input function is a user defined function. Within this put a string of, okay, enter a number. Okay, some separators I have kept. After that, enter a number, enter a number, enter first number. Next come down, same input, we are requesting the user to enter second number. Okay, now what happened? Try to understand. Now if you run this code, what happened? Compile this, nothing, only the first function is executed. So whenever you call this function sum, okay, if you run this, enter first number. Okay, if I put a number and it is requesting for enter second number, one more number, but I don't know where this number stored. So how to do the sum? First of all, I should know that where this number stored, na? So if you store them, that these numbers, as I told you that initially I have taken a number, that is what this string I have taken. So if I want to print this string, so I need to store in a variable in computer's memory location. This is the computer memory location. Okay, so first of all, I need to store this input, user input, in a variable. Keep a variable. Suppose num is a variable. Okay, now this value stored in this num1, xyz, anything, you can take anything. Now this one num2, this is one more variable I have declared. So now this value stored in this variable, one more variable. Okay, num1, num2, it is giving error because no margin required here. Now what happened? Actually, why these two are giving, it is giving error? If you declare a function sum, these line of statement must follow under they must be under your function. So two variables I have created to store these 6, 7. Okay, now a num1 is holding 6 and num2 is holding num2. So then after one more, if you create one more, sum is a variable.